Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kelvis Podcast. I'm in the building today. I got Coach D, the first semi-pro basketball coach in Fayetteville on my podcast. It's an honor to have him here. I'm super excited. I got to meet him when I did the Hometown Hero back a couple months ago with RJ, and so I'm just honored to have him in the studio with me today. So I'm going to let him go ahead and fully introduce himself to the audience. Coach D, go and tell the people who he is and where you're from.
How you doing? My name is Coach Don Gardner. I'm the former head coach for the Fayetteville Stingers here in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Okay. Tell us your background. You born and raised here in North Carolina? Where you from originally?
I'm originally from Washington, D.C.
Okay, D.C.
Yes, sir.
Chocolate City.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I love it. Military brat.
Okay.
Went to a few places.
Okay.
We lived in Germany, Fort Benning, Georgia.
Right.
And we kind of settled here.
Okay.
Been here for many, many years. I started coaching in 1999.
1999.
I was coaching middle school. I actually was coaching football and baseball.
Okay.
I got into basketball in 2001.
Okay. Was that a big that transformation from coaching baseball and football, I believe, to basketball? Was it very, very easy for you to move from sports to sports?
It was a big transition for the simple fact that I went from coaching football and baseball to girls basketball.
Okay.
And it was by default. Someone said that they didn't feel like their team was going to be any good. So she decided to step down.
Okay.
And I took the job, and we did well.
Okay.
For the first
All
year.
right. Okay. Well, let's start right there. Tell me the story behind. So you took over the job. Someone else, had this girl basketball team and decided to step down, and you stepped up, being the man you was, stepped up and took over the team. So talk to me about that journey. How was that journey for you?
It was easy because I'm a people coach.
Uh-huh.
So I build relationships with my players.
Okay.
I like to get to know my players. That way I know what pushes them and what
Right.
gets them upset. When you can find out what pushes them, they kind of they tend to give you their best.
Right.
Versus just kind of use them for the hour and a half or so that you're there for practice.
Right.
And not have any type of relationship with them, but make demands for them to try to go hard, and they don't know you.
Right.
So it was fairly easy in that regard, but that was middle school when I first started. But then I got a phone call to start the varsity girls program at Trinity Christian.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with Trinity. Okay.
Yes, sir. I started the varsity girls program there in 2002 with I'll say about 7 cheerleaders. So that was my first year and my first introduction to varsity girls basketball.
Okay.
That was tough.
Why was so touched? Because you're a father. I mean, teaching these, was it because of the age of the girls, or what made it tough?
Well, the tough part was they didn't have a lot of experience. I had
Okay.
one girl with experience, and she was a freshman. The rest of them were, like I said, they were cheerleaders. So,
Okay.
I was trying to build something, not knowing, how fast it would take to get to success, if that, but it didn't take long. It took a rude awakening. I got beat my first year, 85-15.
Oh, wow. That was a beat.
Well, yeah, and that was somebody purposely running the score up on us. I mean, calling timeouts, drawing up quick hit plays with, minutes left, and they're already up big, pressing us the whole game. And like I said, the only person I had with experience was a freshman.
Right.
So instead of, getting into the locker room and chastising my players, I went in there and they all crying because they felt like they let me down.
Right. Yeah.
I told them to get their heads up and, hey, if we can't score, we're going to learn how to stop people from scoring.
Right.
So my motto has always been, don't let people outwork you.
Right. Don't let people outwork you.
There you go.
Yeah. So you had that year, you took that L, you came back the following year and continued coaching them, or did you move on to something else, or you went back for another season with them?
No, I stayed there for 6 years. The next year we ended up going to the playoffs. We made the playoffs the very next year. The year after that, we went further. And to make a long story short, after starting it in 2002, 2007, 2008 season, we won the state championship.
Wow. So, but let's dig into that more, because I know it's a challenge, to coach girls. It's a challenge to coach any young team now, especially nowadays. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you face outside of you took over You only had, and I got it now. I didn't get it at first. You said 7 cheerleaders. I was like, okay, you had 7 cheerleaders out there supporting the team, but that was your team, the 7. So it took me a minute to catch on. It took me a minute.
They would get dressed at halftime and go cheer for the boys.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yes, I mean not halftime, but at the end of the game. Sorry,
I got you. So and again, coaching young girls age. I'm assuming what was the age between about 12 to
about 14 to 18.
14 to 18. Okay, and at that age, what were some of the challenges that you faced? Just not only not having a team that you needed at first, but just the whole process of building that team for starting out getting beat 85-15, and the girls having to play basketball and then go cheerlead for the guys. That first year, how did you take your years of experience all the way as a father and as a man and take that and transform that into bringing that team to winning a championship? Talk me through that, those challenges that you faced.
I guess the hardest challenge was getting them to understand the concept of basketball. Basketball is a sport that it's as Bobby Knight said, if I'm saying it correctly, is 85% mental.
Okay, that's true.
The rest is physical. So, we were able to get some off-season training. I was able to take them to some college games and get them to see their position at the higher level. Right. Not just trying to make it easier for myself, because at that time, the only assistant coach I had was more of an administrator. Didn't really have a whole lot of basketball experience. So I was doing a lot of this myself, from the beginning. But once they started understanding and they bought in, and they understood the concept of buying in, that's half the battle, more than half of the battle, getting them to buy into what you're saying. Right. And as you spoke about it, having the being a father figure to all of them, actually. Right. Being a father figure and them understanding that, me chastising them is coming from a good place. Right. Never to take it personal. And me learning as a coach, understanding how to break someone down and build them up.
Back up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Wow. That is an amazing story within itself. Yes, sir. So let's move on. So after you taught, you teach, you coached down to the 2007, is that correct?
Well, the 2008 season. 2007, 2008 season.
Okay. So then you moved on to what? You left them and you moved on to another coaching job. What did you move from there?
So after we won the state championship in 2008, I took a year hiatus.
Okay.
I actually volunteered and helped at Albritton on formerly Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty. I took a year off, and then I got a few phone calls about trying to go. A couple schools wanted me to come to their school to coach their basketball team, and I prayed about it, and I God led me to Fayetteville Christian.
Okay.
When I first got there, they were 4-24, 4-26, excuse me. And when I got there, the head of basketball operations asked me, could I do what I did at Trinity at Fayetteville Christian? And I was just like, well, if you give me the opportunity, of course, I do it all that I can. And I was able to do that the very next year. Before I got there, they were 4-26. The very next year, we were 27-4. So. Wow. Yeah,
and that was the boys' mess.
No, this was girls.
All girls. Okay,
all
still girls. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if you ever go to the school, there's a list of championships that's on the wall. I had a great group of girls, and I finally got, some good, help. And again, my last couple years at Trinity, the guy who's coaching at Trinity now was my assistant coach.
Okay.
So, I was able to get some help, in those years, but. Did very well at Fayetteville Christian, won numerous championships as far as regular season and tournament.
Okay.
And then after that, which was 2020 during COVID.
Okay. Yeah.
That's when I stepped down.
It proposed its own challenge, especially with COVID during that time.
Yes, sir.
And what challenges how did you handle those challenges, and what challenges did you face during the period of COVID? Being a coach of a girl basketball team.
Well, the hardest part about it is understanding that the rules change. You can only have a certain amount of people in the gym, and you had to wipe down everything. And I am a clean type of person. But you had to do everything. You had to wipe down the basketballs, wipe down the floor, and everything that everybody touched. And they're practicing and playing with masks.
Right.
And,
Oh yeah, and I can imagine that being difficult.
Yeah, it was totally different. You yelling louder, and because you have the mask on as you're speaking. So those created challenges. But again, once your players buy in, man, it's all one team, one fight type mentality.
So what kind of sacrifice did you, when it came to your family, doing it when you moved from Trinity over to the other Christian school, Federal Christian Church school? What personal challenges that you faced? You know, because you have a son I met out there.
Yes, sir. And that's my baby. That's my baby boy. I have a 27-year-old son. I have a daughter that I took in, and then I have another son that's at Campbell. He's 21.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, Lord forgive me. It's either 21 or 22.
Yeah, I know.
And then my son here, my youngest son is 14, getting ready to turn 15. But the sacrifice, my kids been around since all of them were babies when as I was coaching. So they stayed around me majority of the time. So all of them fell in love with the game of basketball. Right. So the sacrifice was, my wife just being able to support me and making sure that, I spent time with her and the kids as well, obviously as, coaching. And she gave me that green light.
That latitude.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, when you got a great support team at home, your wife and your kids, absolutely, it makes your job a lot easier to go out and do what you need to do because you don't have that added pressure.
There you go.
Of that tension at home where your wife or the kids saying, "Well, Dad, you always gone. You're teaching these, teaching these girls, and you spend hours teaching them and running plays, and then you get home, you're tired, and so that's commendable to have that kind of support team, yes, and it makes you go a long way. So after you did the Favorite Christian Academy, let's move on down your timeline. What was next? What was the next thing on your plate?
The next thing is when I left Fayetteville Christian, I went back and helped at Trinity under the coach that was my assistant coach, Charles Tubbs. Mm-hmm. He allowed me to come out and stay busy, and I'm competitive, so I have to stay busy. If not, I run my wife up a wall. Man, I just I got to stay busy.
Right.
And he allowed me to do just that until the opportunity came to coach the pro developmental team, the Fayetteville Stingers.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that.
Yes, sir.
So I didn't even know. I'm just gonna be honest. I didn't even know Fayetteville had a semi-pro basketball team until RJ was like, "Hey, I'm doing the video work for them." At that time, I had just came on board with RJ.
Yes,
not too long after he got that contract to do that, as well as another friend of mine's, T-Bone, I call him. Yeah, to do the transportation for him.
Yes, sir.
So I met T-Bone first time I did my vendor spot for my first book that I put out. Yes, and so we've been friends ever since then. I had him on my podcast as well. But I didn't even know, there was a semi-pro basketball team in Fayetteville. Yes, and then so talk to me about, man, just really let the audience know, what was that journey like? Because I wasn't the only one that even knew that we had a semi-pro basketball team. So let's talk about that journey, man. Just tell me, what sacrifices, what was the path that led to that, and the challenges along the way, because I know for a fact there was some challenges.
Absolutely. Well, first, let me go back a little bit. Before I left Fayetteville Christian, I was coaching varsity boys and varsity girls.
Okay.
I was the head coach of both. And I never wanted to coach guys as far as basketball. And I always said I never wanted to coach pro.
Really?
I always said that.
Why is that?
Well, because once it becomes a business, it takes the fun out of it.
Okay.
My opinion.
Okay.
My ultimate goal is to coach at the collegiate level. But so when I took the year, when I left Fayetteville Christian, I went to help Coach Tubbs at Trinity. A friend of mine, Ray Thomas, called me and said, "Hey, they're getting ready to have a pro team here. Okay. Are you interested in coaching?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, thank you. He was like, "Man, this could be a stepping stone to get your foot in the door to the collegiate level. Mm-hmm. You might want to, just apply."
Right.
So I applied, and the next day I get a phone call.
Okay.
I sent my resume in, and the general manager gave me a call, and he said he wanted to meet with me, and he kind of gave me a timeline.
Okay.
So we got off the phone. I waited, and then the very next day he said, "Hey man, where are you at?" I said, "Well, I'm at work at my second job, which is the rec center."
Right.
He said, "Can I come talk to you?" I said, "Well, I'm not dressed for an interview, but you're more than welcome to come talk." So he came out and he asked me, quite a few questions, and obviously my answers and my responses were, what he was looking for. So that's how that journey started. The sacrifices, there were long hours.
It was typically longer than what you would teach for the
high school.
High school.
Absolutely. We spent a lot of time in meetings and practices, and just kind of trying to maintain that professional mindset,
Right.
and how we carry ourselves, and it involved everybody from the dance team to the the marketing promoters,
Right.
and everything. So the sacrifice again was being away from my family until they were able to start coming along and being a part. I think my wife was doing some vendor work out there with her
Okay.
stuff, so she was around, so it
Right.
wasn't a major sacrifice as far as my family,
Right.
but it was a sacrifice because I gave up a job,
Mhm.
to do this with the expectation of making, a contractually agreed amount. So
Okay. So when he came down and talked to you, what was your impression of the owner when he came to talk to you? What was that interview like for you?
I'm just gonna be honest. I'm from the city and I live here in the South, and I've seen a lot of people come through here and they had their city slicker mentality, as they would say.
Right.
And everybody's not like that. Please don't mistake me, my words
Oh
for
no,
saying
I
that.
got you. I understand.
But the GM was more approachable.
Mhm.
So I built a very solid relationship and still have that relationship with him. The owner was a little bit more distant, which raised the eyebrow for me.
Mhm.
So, but I asked questions, and one of the questions that I asked was, "Hey, when we travel, do we have to pay for our stuff, or do
Right.
we have, how does that work?
Right.
Especially when we took a week travel to Canada."
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, how are we going to pay for that? Am I having to come out of pocket? And it was, the answer was no. I was like, okay, I'm on board.
Okay. So what was the experience? These are the mans or the young men that y'all coaching. I don't know where they might have been off from Fayetteville. I don't know where they was from or the dynamics. Or talk to me about them, the team itself, and what was the overall experience of teaching these are grown men versus teaching, what I'm saying, at a middle school, high school level.
Well, again, it doesn't change. You get you get players to buy into what
Okay.
you're saying, your philosophy, and and your consistency is the major thing. We had a few guys from Fayetteville. We had a few guys from surrounding areas that trickled onto the team, but mostly from Fayetteville. When I took over, obviously there was somebody in place prior to me. I was the assistant coach starting out.
Right.
But when I took over, we had what we call, and I had this in high school, I call them accountability practices.
Okay.
Everything is against the clock.
Right.
And everything is what you don't make. There's a extra conditioning mindset that we have.
Mhm.
We want to seek perfection the best way possible.
Mhm.
And that was the mindset I brought as the head coach. When I took over, we actually turned it around. The guys, the team, we were one game shy of making the playoffs. And the reason why we were one game shy was because a team that we beat, I think it was 3 or 4 times, they got a win from a team that forfeited.
Oh, okay.
That was one win over us, and they got
yeah.
the playoff bid, which was a blessing in disguise because by that time we were our funds were not where they were supposed to be.
But here's the thing about it. So kind of, want to talk about a little more. I want to dig into a little more.
Yes.
I've heard, and I don't know this for a fact, but I heard that some of the players would go off and they didn't even have food to eat. So, money to buy food with and stuff like that. So, being a coach, how do you keep them motivated to play when, maybe they wasn't getting what they supposed to get, or you was facing challenges at home? How did you manage that as a head coach, knowing that, these guys supposed to got paid a certain amount, or they food and stuff been taken care of? Now, I don't know for a fact, and you could correct me wrong, but I heard there's been times where, other people had to step up and kind of take care of the players as far as, when they were traveling.
Well, yeah, that definitely took place. But, again, so my high school rule was, I always had a parent coaches meeting
Mm-hmm.
prior to the season.
Okay.
And it kind of put down a level of agreement
Okay.
of my sacrifice as well as yours.
Right.
So when I took over, it was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although the coach in place, he had his rules and regulations, and they worked. They worked, but at the time, the players needed more than just a coach. And when I took over, it was a meeting that took place.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I'm in the same boat you in.
Right.
But if we're gonna, say that we're gonna do it, then let's do it.
Right.
If not, let me know so I know if I can bring somebody else in here that want to play. Some of them guys were playing what they consider semi-pro around here, and they were doing it for free, and they're traveling. So I told them, I said, if you don't want to be here, it's not personal. I get it. I understand, especially when all of us signed contracts.
Right.
And everybody agreed. So once they agreed, that's when I told them, hey, accountability practices. And I remember the first day after the first practice, the guy sent me a message and was like, man, Coach, that was one of the best practices I've ever had. And that made me happy, and it motivated me because I felt like they were buying in.
Right. So, it's a teamwork because, they was happy with, what you would bring to the table, and in return, they were telling you, this, hey, this is the best coaching, or this is best practice, which lifted you. So it's a combined effort of feeding each other and positivity.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So even in saying that though, so how was it with traveling, traveling different locations? How was that process, and what sacrifice did you make on the road when you had to travel like to Canada? Because I remember you talked, about when you first met the GM or whoever, and you said, when we go to Canada, would I be responsible? So how was that process that week that y'all went up there and played in Canada?
So we saw things kind of going downhill when we went to Canada. So the Canadian team paid for our trip over there. They paid for our hotel stay and all that.
Okay.
But they didn't pay for our food. So the GM, and I'm almost 99% sure that he came out of pocket to make sure that we had food.
Okay. That's
because so they catered us food every night. Lunch was on us. We had to pay for our own lunch, and obviously the breakfast we had at the hotel. So that was fine. It's just when we got back and we had to, take trips to Florida. Like some of the guys, they took the trips and I couldn't go, because I had to go back to work on my second job. But they would ask me, "Hey, Coach, what do we need to do?" And they go down there and execute. And them guys did a great job.
So sometimes they played without you even being there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unique to say the least.
Absolutely.
That's unique to say the least. So when you went up to, you didn't travel to Florida because of your second job or whatnot. So, but I know as a player, and I played a little basketball, I wasn't that good. When I came out that one night, the crowd, and I had brought some people with me because it was Greek night that night, actually. So how did that, the ticket sales and having the marina, having the people in the support, y'all, how did that affect you in it? Because I know, like, again, I felt like there was not a lot of market behind it, because once RJ again was involved in it heavy, he was telling me about it. I said, man, I don't, so I started telling people that I knew, hey, Fayetteville got a semi-professional basketball team. So I'm like, and it's like, no, people I was talking to. So did that affect you as a coach, not knowing that the community didn't even know y'all? A lot of people did not know that you existed.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, we did a couple, we did an interview on the news station.
I seen that. Yeah, I seen that.
We did a interview at the arena, but there were a lot of suggestions, and they just wasn't receptive. They just didn't receive our suggestions. I mean, I remember when the G League was here, the G League back in the day. God rest his soul, Jeff Capel Sr. was the coach there. Or Jeff Capel, sorry, was the coach there, and it was a great thing. But then we went into war. Okay. And then once we go into war here in Fayetteville,
soldiers gone.
Soldiers gone.
I was one of them soldiers.
Right. So I told the owner at the time, I said, hey, my position on Fort Liberty, I have access to the school system. I can get tickets to those kids. We'll give tickets to the kids, and when we give those tickets to the kids, the parents have to pay. Right. You know what I mean?
That's a great marketing tool.
Right. So I said, we can talk to the command out there and see if we can make things happen. And they just didn't do those things. And I think that's kind of the straw that broke the camel's back as far as the community. We did an educational night, which didn't go over that well either, because they had one that was with the hockey team
right,
a couple weeks prior. And they have a booster club. And I told them we should get a booster club. Didn't happen. So. And then, of course, the facility was really expensive. Yeah, they were very helpful, and they did a lot of good things for us, but it was expensive, and we didn't have enough behinds in the seat.
So, how did that impact you as a coach, though? I mean, did it have an impact on you personally as a coach?
It did, because you know, sometimes the crowd kind of gives you that energy in the middle of a game. But again, you know, when we're in practice, we do everything against the clock. Right. You know, and my philosophy is let's build it together so we love it together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the way we pushed each other in practice, we got into the games. I mean, we wanted the crowd support, and we had a little bit, but it was just all about going out there to get the win. It would have been even better, obviously, to have a crowd, you know, pushing us. But you know, we came to you know, compete, and that's what the guys did.
What are you leaving behind for your family and your kids?
I think that my legacy is basically, you know, my kids saw my grind, and I hope that it takes them to the next level in their respective careers. The legacy in the city alone, I've had a lot of impact on people here.
Yeah,
as far as teenagers to, you know, pros to college players. I just hope my legacy is something that they can remember as somebody who did it the right way.
Okay, and let's talk about you as a coach, though. Let's talk about you. Yeah. Let's dig into who you is as a coach, and you know, your not only your philosophy, but just as a coach, your impact in the game of basketball.
Well, me as a person, first, you know, I'm a child of God. I'm a faith walker. Yeah. Shout out to Charity Church, my home church, and my leaders, Apostle Virgis Pearson and Prophetess Brenda Pearson, and my pastor Natalie.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. But that's first and foremost. And as a coach, to me, basketball is a tool for the ministry.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's expand on that. How do you see that as a coach for the ministry? Talk to me about that.
Well, again, I used that word consistency earlier. Yeah. If I'm not consistent in my walk, then how can I say I represent Christ, who is consistent in who he is?
That's true.
And my job is to be like Christ. So am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect.
None of us are.
No, I'm not perfect at all. But I will say this, I love God. And I like to talk to people about God. But I'm not one to jump down their throat about God. I don't want to run people away from God because I'm held accountable.
Right.
So that's why I say basketball is a tool for the ministry. Once people know me and they see what I do as far as basketball, they see who I am as, you know, in the ministry. Right. They understand that, hey, man, this man is who he say he is.
Right.
So that's the most important part.
Okay. All right. And so as a coach, again, just define even more, it's like you say, the consistency, you look at it as your faith, how you walk in faith and how you coach these young kids and how you pour into them. Is there any more as a coach that you feel that you wanted to share with the audience?
I come from a home where, I seen my dad go from, a private and retire as a major.
Wow, that's incredible.
And, my mom is, 90% burnt. She lost a son. And I say all that to say this. My father is that leader, gotcha. That consistent again.
Right.
My mother is that strength.
Right.
So I like to believe that I have both of those in me. I had a great upbringing with them too. Right. My brother, my sister. I mean, just everybody in my family who's been supportive in this walk that we call basketball.
Right.
I want people to see that, again, that I did it the right way.
Right.
I didn't, stray to try to get a reputation.
Right.
The first time
you stayed to your roots.
I stayed to my roots.
Your philosophy.
That's it. And the first time I chased the money, it was when I did the pro, and it didn't work out. So. Right. Again, I'm a praying person, and I prayed before I went to the pro team. For whatever reason, God had me do that to prepare me for something greater.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So what did the future look like for you at this point? You done did, coach this semi-pro basketball team. You say whatever God got from that. What would you like God to lead you next down your path, or what would you like to do next?
I would love to, like I said, get to the collegiate level. I like to, have my own program, but if I got to start off as an assistant coach, I've never really been an assistant coach other than under the pro team until I took over. But I've always been a head coach. I just want to get another pro team, challenge myself. I'm about the challenges, and I feel like that I would do fine. I know that I would do fine, again, because of who I am and whose I am.
Right.
I just truly believe that I would be fine doing it. And that's just one of my goals.
That's one of your goals.
Yes.
You have a team in preference, or do you want to be in a D1, D3? You want ACC, the Big Ten? What matter of fact, what is your favorite college basketball team? That's what I need to know.
Well, okay, I'm a Duke fan. I'm a diehard Duke fan.
Oh, well, man, I'm telling you, we got to cut this interview right now. We got to cut it off. Yes, sir. I'm a diehard Tar Heel fan all my life. Matter of fact, I got it in the back of my car.
I'm sorry for you. Well, listen, I'm gonna say this. The type of person I am and the path that God has led me down. I'm close friends with the women's staff at NC State. Like, I know a bunch of those coaches, and I know coaches at different different colleges and stuff like that. So, I'm around a bunch of people.
Right.
Obviously, if I want to cheer for one team in particular, it's Duke.
Right.
Grew up a Duke fan, but I just love college basketball.
So if they call you, it wouldn't matter what team called you, you would be up to the chop.
Man, if Carolina called me, I'm going up there to coach.
I heard that, man. Yes. I heard that. So what about on the academic side? Because I was just telling you, I do some work at Duke University on some projects. Have you? And I heard you. You told me your degrees. Have you thought about going back to school to get your master's? Or
well, that also depends on the student loan forgiveness. All jokes aside, I really do want to get my master's, but I'm trying to give myself a couple years to try to see if I can get to the collegiate level. And if I get that college job, then wherever I'm at, I will try to go ahead and get my master's there. But I'm goal oriented, and that's my first goal.
Okay, gotcha.
I was told I couldn't achieve those goals if I didn't, have my bachelor's. And believe it or not, I didn't get my bachelor's until 2020.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Never too late, though.
Never too late.
All right, Coach D, so if you can sum up all the lessons that you have experienced in this walk, from your years of being on the basketball team and coaching, how would you sum it up? How would you sum that up?
I'm going to give you a simple, quick little, I don't want to say story, but people ask me all the time, what's the hardest part about coaching? Mm-hmm. Some would think it's the X's and O's. Some would think of the generational changes. Right. Those are far from the hardest part about coaching. The hardest part about coaching is watching somebody you've given your all to and made your own as like your child, them passing away or going to prison.
Well, I can imagine that.
Yeah, that drives me more than anything, because there's so many lost kids out here.
Right.
I did it for 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say I want to get to the collegiate level, because now you're seeing a lot of people who go to college, they chase the dream of basketball, but they don't necessarily walk away with the paper, meaning the degree. Right. And that drives me more than anything. I love seeing someone go to college to get a free education. Right. So when I hear a lot of coaches say, it's not my job to help this kid go to college, that's far from the truth. Why would you ask somebody to give you 100% for you when you don't give 100% for them? That's true. So the drive for me is seeing someone get an education, an opportunity to get a free education, and then getting that degree.
Right. So what do you think about the talk of, paying the college students, some type of salary even at the college level? I've heard the Alabama coach, Mike Shea, I think the Alabama football team coach has just retired. Yes, he said that, that takes away from building the players. What is your opinion about paying, on all levels, especially in basketball in your area?
Well, just in anything, there's pros and cons. Well, some of those coaches say stuff like that because they've been on top all these years, and now that they no longer have that control, it becomes frustrating. I get it. I get it. But at the end of the day, if a kid, and I talk to one of my brothers about this all the time, if a coach decides they recruit you, they get you on campus, and they turn around and leave. Right. What's the difference with giving that kid an opportunity to jump into the portal when he wants and still be eligible? But one of the things about the NIL deals that I don't like, if I'm a coach, even at the high school level, you're seeing a lot of this. These kids are making all this money at the high school level, and they can't be told anything. Right. They can't be told anything. You're talking about someone who gets, a certain amount of money. This is not everybody. I'm not, saying it's everybody. But you get a kid that comes from nothing.
Right.
And then the next day he or she has millions of dollars.
Right.
What is a teacher going to tell them?
That's true.
What is a parent that have, I don't want to say absent, but they've been, in and out of a kid's life.
Right.
Now all of a sudden they want to be in their life and be a disciplinary.
Right.
What are you going to say to a kid making way more than you when you haven't been there? Or, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a great point of view, because there's a lot of talk about that on the sports channel, sports news, about, the future of the different sports and paying them. So I like that. That's very true what you're saying.
If you want the NIL deal to really be successful and kids still maintain their success, for the most part, they have to maintain a certain GPA to get that NIL deal.
I agree.
That's just my opinion. I mean, you can do it at the high school level if they're getting it. You can do it at the collegiate level if they're getting it. But they must maintain a certain GPA.
I agree. Because at the end of the day, you can go out there and play basketball and end up getting hurt. You ain't got no kind of degree, nothing to fall. And if you haven't had, like you just said, the parents in your life or anyone to instill financial discipline in you, how to manage that money, you go out there as a young 18, 19 and blow it. And then now you go out there and blow your knee out, or you tear a ligament, or whatever the case might be. Now, the team don't re-sign you because you got all your injuries. Now you have nothing. You have no degree. You probably blew all the money and taxes and all the other stuff come along with it. Now you have nothing. So there's a lot of kids, a lot of people went pro, and right now they out here struggling in the world because they didn't have that right guidance.
Yeah. Well, in college, people fail to realize when they come to the game of basketball, and I tell this to people all the time, degrees are semester to semester. I mean, scholarships, excuse me. Scholarships are semester to semester for basketball athletes.
Right.
Because it falls into that semester cutoff, first semester, second semester. So if you play for me and you don't do what you're supposed to do the first semester, it is illegal to take your scholarship, but I can remove you from the team, pay for your education that second semester, and don't have to bring you back.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Wow. See, the business side is not explained, and that's why I think it's unfair that these high school coaches tell their kids it's not their job to help them get in college. It's not fair. The counselors don't always tell them. I fell victim to that, to an extent.
Okay.
So it's unfair. We got to educate these kids. If they're going to get these NIL deals, know what to do with it. Right. Invest, save it, so on and so forth.
Man, Coach D, I think they really need someone like you, and just the short time I sit here and talk to you tonight, man, just knowing you, I could tell that you love the Lord and your spirit in you, yes, and the passion you have for the game. They need more coaches like you, because a lot of coaches are not thinking like that. The kids go out here, they get these deals. I don't know what the coaches get out the deal or anything at all. I'm not saying that, but a lot of times they don't have people like you that are really passionate about them and care about them. And as you said, there are a lot of kids out here lost. They come from broken homes. Yes. They didn't have a father. Might not had the mother that were nurturing and that type of thing. And so there's a lot of kids out here that need strong mentorship like what you give it. So I take my hat off to you. I appreciate you, what you have done and what you're going to continue to do. So my last question, I always ask all my guests on my show. So single question. It's one of my famous questions. What do unconditional love mean to you?
Somebody who's willing. Are we saying it towards, or what does unconditional, like the word?
What do the word and what do the action mean to you? Did you just tell me your definition, what it means to you?
Unconditional love is someone who is willing to give everything they have for what they love. That's unconditional. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. They're willing to give whatever is necessary to not only give that love, but to show that love.
Hey, great answer. I like that. Thank you. Great answer. Hey, y'all, this is Kelvis podcast. I had a great night with Coach D in the podcast room with us. He dropped some jewels on him. He's a great man of God. I'm thankful he came through. We're going to continue to support him in anything he got going on. Thank you so much for coming through and sharing your story. It's a very powerful, inspirational story, and we're going to definitely get it out here on the airways, all right?
Thank you
for more content like this, like, share, and follow Kelvis Podcast. I salute you.